Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teachers in the Dungeon. I'm Tom Gross, one of your co-hosts, and sitting right across from me here in the dungeon, Dan Ream.
Still here.
Well, they don't ever let us out,
No.
so, it's
Life
the way
sentence.
it goes. But, it is the week of Thanksgiving. And, I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start with two things that I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving. The first is probably a softball, but it is definitely you as the co-host of Teachers in the Dungeon. I think I've said this numerous times on the show, but you do a massive amount of work for the show. You do the editing and scheduling of all the shows. You take care of the Facebook and Instagram pages. On top of all that, you DM and you're a player, and you create awesome set pieces for your players and for the kids at school and all that. So I am thankful for that.
Wow.
For all that.
You.
Yeah, I'm really, on this show, I'm just a pretty face, and I'm not even that. I'm not even that.
Face for radio. Huh?
So that's right. That's why I did radio. Perfect face for radio. Anyway, so I'm thankful for that. And the second thing I'm thankful for is the string of guests that we have had here in this second half of the year, but certainly all year long. We've just had an amazing group of guests over the year, and just super nice people to meet and interview and kind of pick their brains on D&D, or most recently the history of D&D and all of that. And so I'm thankful for those things with Teachers in the Dungeon. So to everybody, happy Thanksgiving.
We need to give a shout out to Dan Zier for helping us find some of these people to be able to interview. And
that is very true. Very true.
Definitely appreciate his willingness to
Yeah.
lend a hand. And
and if you don't know the name, Dan Zier is the co-creator and host of Coffee with Kenobi. And if you love Star Wars, you don't want to miss that show for sure.
Definitely.
So, wow. I can't believe it, though, that Thanksgiving is upon us. Usually I think of the holidays as a time of peace and prosperity and joy. And we've been playing in a game that I think only has the joy. Because this game we've been playing, our DM for this game is Chris Metz. We introduced this game probably a month and a half ago.
It's been a little while.
Yeah. Chris has been such a gracious DM because we are playing a chaotic group. He
was so excited to bring us into Ravnica.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like the very first session we blew apart all of his plans and hopes and dreams, and I am surprised he didn't leave in tears, but he's made of sterner stuff. So
yes.
But you're right. Yes, we are. Well, I'm not chaotic, I'm just evil in this party.
Just
Everybody else is chaotic
and dumb.
Yes.
And we're extremely stupid. Now, some of us are quite wise, streetwise. Like my character, I've got a decent wisdom, but my intelligence is -2, sitting at a whopping 7.
And I'm just the opposite. I've got high intelligence, low wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes tricky to know how to play that.
Wisdom, yeah, I would agree. Wisdom and intelligence seem to go so hand in hand that it's difficult. But I always just look at it as, is this a knowledge? Is this a book smart thing that I'm talking about right now? Or is this something that I would learn just by the hard knocks? And that's the way I look at it. It may be wrong, but that's the way I always look at intelligence and wisdom. So we've got this. Actually, we have a very chaotic creature in the dungeon with us right now, messing with the touch screen.
Yes.
And now
we may have some recording difficulties.
Now drinking out of your drink.
The trouble with this cat is if I shut her out, then she'll just yowl and scratch at the door. And if I do leave her in here, then she attacks the computer screen, which is touch sensitive.
And her nose is like 6 inches from the screen.
Yes.
She managed to open up the HP Assist help desk.
Yeah, so those are the clicks you heard. Sorry, folks.
So anyway, talking about our Ravnica group, we kind of wanted to give an update on it and share just some of the shenanigans that have been going on.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten away from our roots with this podcast, that we meant to tell stories about our adventures. If you're new to the podcast, that was sort of the original goal, but there are many outstanding live play D&D session podcasts to listen to.
Right.
But you have to have 1.5 to 3 hours a session, it seems like, to listen to them. So our thought was we would sort of just try to be storytellers, tell the stories rather than enact them,
Right.
and be able to get that down to a shorter session. So that's our goal here.
Yep.
And then we've kind of branched into other areas to talk about on the podcast. So it is sort of a catch-all podcast, and hopefully that's something that people enjoy rather than get irritated by. I don't know.
I mean, people are still listening.
Yep.
My mom, who's in her 80s and has no idea what we're talking about, but she likes to listen. So, no, seriously, thank you, everybody, for... I guess I really should have said one thing I'm thankful for are all the listeners that give us support and send us comments and likes on social media. And
Do you remember at GaryCon how we sat in that session and the session leader was telling people how to market their
Right.
their third-party ideas, and they said podcasts are excellent, particularly small podcasts, because the audience is so loyal.
Yes.
And I feel like the audience really, ours has certainly proved that. You guys have stayed with us through all this, and we do appreciate. We can just tell from the steadiness of the numbers that you folks listen on a regular basis,
Indeed.
and we really do appreciate that.
Indeed, we do. Back to our roots, I suppose.
Yes.
And that might not be a bad goal for 2024. We'll do that show pretty soon in early January, but might be not a bad goal to get back to our storytelling. Because it indeed is fun to go back and think about those stories and the characters we've played or are continuing to play. So Ravnica.
Yes.
I'm trying to think.
We have a party of monsters.
Party of monsters. We Minotaur, Bugbear. I'm a goblin. Hobgoblin.
And then I think we have like a drow elf mix.
A drow elf mix. And a true drow elf.
Yeah.
And is that it? Why do I feel like I'm missing somebody?
No, that's everybody, but we'll have to double check on those two. The two non-monster characters we kind of don't. I guess we've got the whole the goblinoid family represented.
Yes.
They're kind of the ones that have been driving things so far.
Yeah.
So yes, it's chaotic. Everybody's chaotic neutral, and I'm lawful evil as a hobgoblin.
And our characters are brothers.
Yes, half brothers, but
yeah.
So that's the one, I suppose, redeeming feature of my character is he is very protective.
Yes.
And
because I am not smart and I make some really bad choices. In fact, that's one of the things I was noticing. We're just leveled up, and I was noticing on our personality traits. One of my personality traits is I make quick, brash decisions, and then reflect upon those if they don't go well. So he does a lot of reflecting, and brother always helps out quite a bit.
So that has been, for our play, sort of an axis that everything kind of revolves around. I would say, and actually looking at this, I think I actually feel a little bad about this, that the rivalry between Mark's character and mine, the Bugbear and the Hobgoblin, has sort of dominated a lot of the role play.
I don't think that's a problem at all.
But I feel like we need to get other people willing to kind of get in on the action. And
I feel like there's enough shenanigans going around in different areas. I mean, Gnut is always causing trouble, well, usually with Marcus's character.
Zhor.
Or
Zor.
Yeah.
Zhorr.
Yeah. But,
so unbeknownst to each other, he named his Zor, and mine is Lore.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, although nobody knows Lore's real name.
Oh.
Full name.
Not even Gnut's, I don't think.
You did, but it's been a long time since we've talked about it.
Oh.
So we need to do that, because that probably should come up at some point.
Okay. All right, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But so, I'm trying to think where to start with this story.
So I think, again, from day one, it was chaotic. We're on board a ship. We are sailing into this hotbed of different factions. and clans. And Chris has got this all set up so beautifully. And we've got these random characters that aren't going to pay too much attention to who's on whose side. Well, we start out with shenanigans on board the boat. Chris does a really good job of coming up with ways to roll the dice in social situations.
Yes. And it was like games. There were games to be had. And so we were playing gambling games, and there were some drinking games and things like that. And I remember Brian's character tried to cheat and use sleight of hand, and I rolled the counter to that, the insight, and I caught him. I caught him cheating, and so that was kind of fun. And then I think the drinking game, Ganoots did not do well with the dice rolls, and so somehow that ended up in him being wrapped up in a blanket, and you watching over him, and
clean up the puke.
Yep. It was not good.
And Zor the bugbear, of course, his instrument of choice is the bagpipes.
It's beautiful.
And so that has caused multiple conflicts between our characters. And I think that was part of I've played long enough that I felt sort of free to just go with things that were a little off the wall.
Yeah.
And so I actually had my character make an unarmed strike on Zor, just because he doesn't like, my character doesn't like the bagpipe, and Zor was not backing down. So we just had a fist fight,
old-fashioned fist fight,
right there on board the ship. I found myself really nervous, because as the hobgoblin, there's a sense of honor and and shame that the bugbear wouldn't have. And I was scared to death I was going to lose and be humiliated. My character was. And so it was, fortunately for me, from my feelings, the dice rolls went my way. And so that kind of started then a simmering feud between the two.
That, I don't know, do you want to jump around a little bit? Because I think we could, it led to a point where the bagpipe was being played, and it was in a bad situation, a bad spot, and he was just going to play that bagpipe anyway. And you shot an arrow, right? Right into the bagpipe.
Well, whatever I did, I attacked the bagpipe and wrecked it. Yes.
And it totally wrecked the bagpipe, and Marcus kind of had a look on his face like, oh, I can't believe he did that. Oh.
So that's been one sort of story thread. The story thread Chris, I think, intended to be the major one is us taking the quest. To go and I think just kind of retrieve a MacGuffin, really. Yeah,
it was. There's a I can't remember if it's a riddle or just a tale, and we were supposed to collect a weapon. And
like a key
and some other things, and so we went with it. We didn't know exactly why or when, what our purpose behind it was, other than we were promised money. And the person who promised it to us also had influence and food and stuff like that. So we were like, yeah, sure, we'll do this. And I don't remember from there what we did first. 'Cause I missed a session or in there somewhere.
I mean, we've got a lot to cover, so I think we'll just do the highlights and keep it short-ish. But from my vantage point as a player, the first memorable thing was we did encounter some thieves, and we beat them pretty handily, and one of them surrendered and was being just a bit obstinate, just barely obstinate about answering questions. And Mark's character, the bugbear, just killed her.
Oh, I do remember that. Yes.
And I think everybody was shocked, but I mean, credit to Marcus, because again, we are monster characters, so even the neutral ones are going to be making some pretty awful decisions at times. And my character came back, and it's funny how you blend right into your character. I was angry because I wanted to question her. And so but I had to think now that he can't be mad at the loss of life. He's lawful evil. He's not going to be mad about that. So I had to kind of get in Zor's face and say, you torture them first then you kill them. And that was, the best I could come up with. But then from that point, we carried on, and the next thing, I think the next major thing is we saw this weird path as if something huge had just like bulldozed through the forest. And we finally saw a house, a cabin in the distance, motionless. But that's where that path went. But we had a choice to go on the more well-worn path to a goblin camp. I think we were going to get some information there. We were delivering beer there.
That's right.
But of course, all you guys, and my lawful character was stay on the path.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else was like, no, let's go investigate the house. So you guys took off. I think that's when you missed the session.
I missed that one, yeah.
So your character was asleep in the wagon.
Yeah.
And the others went forward, and I reluctantly followed. And it turns out that the house was moving because it had a shambling mound underneath each corner.
Yeah.
And so Marcus's bugbear just rushes up to this house and gets attacked by this thing and dropped. My character immediately thought, well, we need every hand on deck for this one. So grabbed him, pulled him back, got him revived, and he just went right back into the fight.
Oh, jeez.
But that's just what he would do.
Uh-huh.
So long story short, we were first, second level characters. Yeah. We were pretty early on.
Just a bit first.
And a shambling mound, that was pretty rough, but we managed to kill it. And then I think I convinced him to get out of there.
That's why where we are now,
there was
something dragging. Okay,
yes.
Okay. I guess I didn't pick up on that when I came back.
So that was kind of a fun moment. But again, we were still in this crunchy phase of we are not gelling on this, and our characters are not seeing eye to eye on how this should go.
Yep.
So after that, then we do eventually make it to the goblin camp where Mama Wart is going to provide us with information and a little bit of help toward getting those MacGuffins that we need.
Right.
But in exchange, I believe she wanted us to do something for her.
That's where she wanted us to go to the tower or the village.
Yes, there was a village that was abandoned or something, and she wanted us to see if that would be a good place for her goblins.
Still available, yeah.
To take over. And so we said, yeah, sure, we could do that. Putting the pieces together, a house being carried by shambling mounds, this is obviously kind of a druidic magic at work.
Twisted, but yes.
Yeah. And the goblins were also fighting against that. They were struggling. So we kind of had common cause. Plus you're a goblin, I'm a hobgoblin, there's a bugbear.
Right. So on the way to the town, we kept encountering these sort of plant-like creatures of different levels along the way, and we're defeating them. But I have to say, because it was my moment, is on that last one that we were sneaking up and we had seen. We were getting clues along the way also of, I don't know, just what might be ahead. Someone was leaving clues.
Yes.
And so we came across one. Oh, and this is when Gnut's also discovered that he's an artist.
Right.
Remember? He's an artist. He loves to draw on leaves and whatnot. But anyway, we kind of figured out a clue that up on the top of this hill, based on the clue, there should be something up there that may not be good. There's a kind of a warning for it. So Gnut's, being a sneaky little rogue, was also joined by Brian's character and Marcus's character, because they have a high sneak as well. It's not sneak. What's the word? Stealth. Sorry, back to first edition there on the sneak. So they kind of came along with, but then they failed their role, so they kind of stayed behind. And I got up to where the moment that place was, and Gnut's got there and he didn't see anything. So he turned around to look back down the hill at you guys, and he's like, "Nothing here, there's nothing here." All the while, something is rising behind me and just comes down and slams me. And it was
very
just sort
cinematic.
It's very, very cinematic. And so we fought this creature. But that was sort of the last test before we got to the village.
And this was also the session where I had finally worked out how my character would deal with Zor, the bugbear, continually rushing into things.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of those creatures, he rushed in and attacked, and I just pulled you aside, and we walked around kept going. And I said, I'm not gonna help him. We're gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
And he defeated it.
This was the one in the river, I think.
Yes.
Or in a stream or something.
He defeated it, but for whatever reason, that his character, it finally got through to his character. Oh, I do have to control myself somewhat, or I won't have any allies.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was... Mark is such a cagey player that I'm sure that was Zor deciding that, and not him as a player thinking, oh, I don't want to lose my character.
Right. Yeah.
So
that is something
cool.
That's just as a general theme, something that has been kind of fun about this party is the self-preservation is not nearly as high in this one as with, when you have an elf or a dwarf or something like that.
Much less metagaming.
We are very much a compulsive,
yes.
There's something there, let's go get it kind of thing. And so that has been fun, and as we'll share here in a little bit, actually brings some fun to it.
Yes. So we did, as we approached the village, we did realize that it had been at least under observation by this, I think we figured out was the Druidic group.
Yes.
And so I don't know if they caught us or we just sort of met up. And
I feel like we met up.
They looked a little bit tough for us to try to take. Mm-hmm. And we agreed to go in and investigate and take out. They said there's a
wizard.
There's a wizard in the tower that's given us fits. Why don't you go take him out?
Yep.
So we agreed to do that. Mm-hmm. And again, this was where it was kind of fun to be the Caddick group. And I think this is where Chris really locked in and started just running with and enjoying the chaos.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because I don't really know why I decided to do this, but I just went out in the open, approached the tower, and tried to talk to him.
Right.
And so the wizard talked to us and seemed reasonable and seemed more aligned with what we were trying to achieve than the Druidic people.
Yeah, it was through that conversation that it kind of, like, things started coming together. Like all of those woodland, plant-like creatures were creatures, and that's not how things are in nature. And he kind of shared, I don't know if he implied or if he just said that they are twisting the earth. They are doing these bad things. And it's also when we discovered that there was a building missing from the town that we later discover is the building that was being carried by the Shambling Mounds. Mm-hmm. Not to jump too far ahead, but so we allied with the wizard, which you put all of that together as the intelligent, lawful evil. It was a trick. We brought those druids out.
I have to admit, one of the beauties of Dungeons and Dragons is getting to play against your own personal type, if you want.
Yeah.
But I struggle with that. As a player, I felt guilty about bringing these acolytes in and then just turning and just assassinating them.
Yep.
As a character and a player, get shut into the tower, and then I thought, this might be really bad. I don't know how we're going to get out of this. But that led to our first major fight where worked together.
We did
fairly well. So the major, like the leader of the druids, came in and was pretty unhappy with us.
Right.
And Chris kind of you talk about DMs knowing when to nudge and when not to. He kind of nudged us into going out and fighting them, because I was going to just hole up my Lore's plan was just hole up and wait for them to come to us.
Right.
But we ended up going out into the open courtyard in front of this tower and taking them on.
Mm-hmm. And you guys left Ganut's up there because Ganut's in the battle to get into the tower. We were escorted by some of those druids in when you made that deal with the wizard. And so we killed them to get in, and then that's when the rest of the druids and the leader came forward. And so Ganut's was out. I mean, he went down in that original battle.
You got one-shotted, didn't you?
I might have.
I think you did.
Almost to the point where it doubled my max. So I almost died in that situation. So you guys drug me into the tower, and we didn't have any healing and whatnot.
No.
So you guys just you stabilized me, so I didn't die. But I remember when that battle started, you guys left me up in the tower, which was fine with me. Ganutz was perfectly happy to. He would want to be in the battle, but in fact, I think he was sleeping.
Yeah.
I think I had to roll to wake up to notice that you guys were in battle.
That you talk about, kind of selfishly picking out moments that you love or are proud of. That battle was mine for lore, because that there was a kind of a troop of these folks coming in, and I had lore hide in the shadows of the gatehouse, and when the lead druid came in, I rushed at him, but rather than just surprise attack, I grappled him.
That saved us.
And was able to therefore kind of convey advantage to all of you rogues to be doing sneak attack on him, because he was engaged with me the whole time, and he had to use his action to get free. And Laura's pretty strong, and the druid didn't roll real well.
Yeah.
So they ended up, I think he got killed without getting even a single attack off.
I don't think he attacked once, but we had some major
issues
happen in this. So we were kind of spread all the way across and Ganut's finally got up and he came out into the courtyard, but you guys were all the way on the other side by the door, and we were kind of spread along some buildings that were there. There's a tavern and those clowns were searching these buildings while this battle was beginning. I can't remember exactly how it happened. It was weird. But so we kind of got trapped along the side of those buildings, and I got ahead of Rosdour,
the Minotaur.
Minotaur. And so if you lined us all up, it was Rosdour closest to the tower, then me, then I want to say it was Marcus's character, and then the Drow were up there, kind of up in the battle with you. And so to paint the picture, someone lit the tavern on fire. And so we have a fire going on off to one side. We have the main heat of the battle by the gates where you are. And then there's some just pesky battles going on back by where I was. Well, long story short, Rosdour gets knocked down. He's down to 0 hit points. He's under 0. And we eventually kill the guy that took Rosdour down. And again, we've already said we have no healing.
Right. No
healing at all. And so Chris was very gracious and allowed us to do medicine checks.
Well, before that, the battle ended, and we all randomly went to keep investigating the buildings.
And he's laying dead.
I think all of us expected somebody else to go take care of him, and nobody did. He had to keep rolling death saves.
So we lost a round with that. Even I had left to follow you, and then I was like, wait a minute, the Rosdour's down. And so I turned around and came back, and so I administered the first medicine check. Because we don't have first aid kits. We don't have heal. We don't have any spells. And so Chris, I said, can I use medicine to try to at least stabilize him? Chris was like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I rolled awful. It was terrible. And so that one didn't work. I think he got a death save. So he was down to 1 success and 2 death rolls. So things were getting dire.
You and Zor worked together.
Yeah.
So you get advantage.
We get advantage. So, and I had +2, I think, in medicine. And so Zor's like, okay, I'll help you. You roll. This is it. And so I rolled. I think I got a 3. I mean, it was
with advantage.
Awful roll with advantage. Yes. I think it was like a 2 and a 3. And I mean, it doesn't sound like it would be a moment of hilarity. But it was.
It was. Paul was laughing.
The incompetence of our characters in this situation in every level, from just leaving him there to coming back and trying to use medicine to save him, and then having advantage to save him. And so then it came to Paul is the player of Razdar, so it came to Paul's final death save, and so he rolled. The dice were not in our favor.
No.
And he rolled under a 10, and Razdar was dead.
Yes.
And the funny thing is we all just laughed. we all just laughed because it was roll after roll after roll of under 10. Just
and we
constantly.
Yes, and we just made awful jokes like, well, at least we got steak now.
Yeah. And so being a minotaur with his horns, Zor cut one off, kept one for himself. He cut the other one off, gave it to me. And so we each have a horn of Zor. Or not Zor, of Razdar. And it's on my character sheet. Something's going to happen with that horn. Something good's going to happen. So anyway, we lost Zor, but then play continued where... Actually, that was the end of that night. But
yes.
We continue on to the next, most recent play session that we had. Yep. And we went back to Mama Wart.
Yep.
And more games.
Yes. Chris, like I said, does a real good job of these games. And I feel kind of bad, but I feel like my character wouldn't have much patience for these goblins.
You weren't having it.
And yeah, so but it was fun just to see how you guys jumped in and played with those.
They were great names. I mean, one of them was Kick the Can.
Yeah.
What was the one that almost killed somebody? It was like Fire...
Freeze or Fry.
Something like that. But then Mama Wart and the Goblin camp fed us dinner.
Yes.
Both in game and out of game.
Yes. And so yes, just as fate would have it, right when we interviewed the authors of D&D's Heroes Feast, Chris, our DM, brought a recipe that he'd made from the Heroes Feast.
Yes.
For abyssal chicken.
Abyssal chicken. I didn't know that was what it's called.
Yep.
Okay.
Chicken kebabs, and they were delicious.
They were amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because it was D&D night, but I think even outside of that, you could have had fine dining and fine china, and this would have been an amazing, amazing dish.
It was very good. So that was fun. So that's kind of a nice little side note there that it just connections being made. But
Yep.
So so we told them village is open, go get them, and they gave us some rewards for that.
Yeah.
And Zor got Chris. I can't believe he did this to me.
Right.
Got a replacement set of bagpipes.
They're special in some way.
They are special.
I don't remember
they call rats.
Oh yes, that's right. It's the Pied Piper.
But but it did provide the opportunity for me to just glower at Zor and say, I will wreck those again if you if you tick me off. And Mark has just taken this cocky grin,
all the way.
All the way. So he's not gonna abide. Mm-hmm. But I got some tricks. I'm not gonna say what they are, but I got some tricks up my sleeve that I think we can handle that.
But then we end up going to the house.
Yes, we do eventually get to the house. Mm-hmm. And that was also, Chris did a nice job, and it was fun the way it played out.
Yeah.
Because for once we did plan.
We did, didn't we?
We did. First time.
We had a plan.
Everybody's stealthy except my fighter that's got disadvantage. And so I said, you guys go first. We're going to try this. We thought we figured we had the key that would get us into the house.
Right.
And we knew there was something in the house we needed. Mm-hmm. So we thought, stealthy ones go first, get yourself in, and then I'll try. And I'll probably fail, but at least maybe I can outrun the awakened or the shambling mounds before I can get into the house before they do.
That setup, that plan was great. I mean, it for the most part worked really well.
Yeah.
But it did have kind of a comical image in my mind because I snuck up first. So I put cartoon sounds to it, like a doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And I got in there and I'm like, everything's good, guys. And I had the key and I was able to activate the door. And so the door opened. Mm-hmm. And so then someone else snuck in
Yep.
And then someone else snuck up. And so, like, we were all, like, doing this little sneak up to the door one by one. And then you came along, and it didn't go
My stealth
so
roll
well.
was like a 4. So,
Yes.
yeah, so sneak, and then clunk.
Yep.
So, not only did I awaken the shambling mound, but I triggered whatever magic had kept the door shut. I couldn't get in.
Yes, and we were in the house already.
You're in the house already, so our party is split. I'm by myself. Shambling mound's coming at me. And I wasn't, again, I'm kind of adopted what you guys, hold these characters loosely because it's somebody's going down.
Yep.
But I just figured, well, I can probably outrun the thing. I can just keep it going in circles while you guys do what you need to do. But then you guys kind of got into trouble because you found there were a bunch
Apparitions.
of apparitions
Yeah.
and specters and ghosts in there that were starting to chew you guys up.
Yep.
So I said, Chris, does this porch have a post holding it up? Can I climb it? So that worked well. I've got a good athletic, so I was able to get on the roof. And as a character, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, shambling mound begins to climb. I'm like, what? What? Come on. So then I thought, then it just got chaotic because I just bashed a window in and jumped in.
Yep.
And saw the dead bodies, and I thought, all right, the only thing I can do is hope that this thing can't open doors. Ran through, shut the door, told all you guys, don't open.
Oh, because you and I, a magic item we got from Mama Ward was we had little
headbands that let us communicate.
Yeah, headbands of telepathic communication. So you and I were able to talk.
Poor Brian, he in the heat of things, he kept forgetting. So he'd respond like, "You can't hear it, Brian. It's just between the two of us."
Yes.
We need to get little headbands and put them on.
Yeah, we can put them on so people remember that we're communicating telepathically. But so the battle. Okay, speaking of Brian, so in the battle with the apparitions, Brian goes down.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of death saves in the rounds, and we were slowly but surely taking the apparitions out. The problem was we had no magical means of fighting these, and so they had resistance against normal weapons, and so it was taking some time. But so I saw Brian go down, and Gnutz is like, redemption. I can redeem myself. I can go stabilize him and save him and blah blah blah. And so he ran over in the middle of battle. And Brian's character is down. A couple rounds had passed. And so I tried my medicine check again. It didn't go well. In fact, it was such a poor roll that Chris made him roll his save.
Speeded up the save, yes.
Yeah, into my turn because I rolled so poorly in trying to heal him. And so here we were down to another roll. Two game sessions in a row where it came down to a death save roll, and quite frankly, Gnutz was responsible for both of them. and Brian rolls his die. There was tension.
Yes, because
we didn't want to lose two people. And he rolls it, and he succeeded.
Yeah.
So of course now Gnutz feels that he saved him.
Right.
That his medicine check really helped to save him because he became stabilized right after he tried. So now Gnutz thinks that he's a healer.
Yes.
Gnutz thinks he's a healer. So we won that.
Yeah. And then Gnutz immediately went into the doors that his brother told him not to.
Yes, where the shambling mound was.
So we had to keep fighting that, but we were okay by that point.
Yeah.
But then we found out it didn't matter. What we needed was in the basement, and the basement got left behind in the village. So we got to go back, but the goblins have already moved in there. At least the hobgoblins are, so we may not have such an easy time.
Yeah. So this has been a lot of fun recapping it because it has been a fun session to play chaotic characters and monsters. Mm-hmm. It's the first time I've ever done that, so it's been fun. And like you said, none of these characters are too close to the chest because, I mean, we've gone 2 sessions now where we lost one, we almost lost one. Mm-hmm. I have no doubt
it's gonna happen.
Whatever happens in that village, someone else is going to be rolling death saves, and Gnutz's going to come over and try to save him and probably kill him. Or maybe it'll be Gnutz that's down. Who knows? But anyway, so now we are 3rd level. We leveled up after that. So I'll be curious to see what everybody does, because third level is the big one where you start bringing in subclasses and start getting some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what direction everyone went. Or what direction everyone was planning on going.
Mark and I have talked. See, that's one other thing is the bugbear and the hobgoblin are both fighters. So there's a little bit of competition there.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, it's been a fun. We hope you enjoyed the recap.
Yes.
Hope we kept it together enough that you're able to get some sort of
follow the story.
Some sort of story in there.
Such as it is.
But the bottom line is, it's a fun story to play, and hopefully a fun story to listen to. So, with all that said, we wish you all, your families, your players that you play with, and the DMs that lead your games, we wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. May your plates be full of abyssal chicken.
That's right. And don't forget, on Friday, it will be our gift show. It's our third.
Oh, wow.
It is our third annual Black Friday. What do you get your players and DMs a gift show? So tune in. It's a special bonus show on Black Friday. So give us a listen there. But hey, enjoy your meal. And when you're sitting at the table, make sure you roll those 20s. See you later, everybody.